everything in my fridge can make me fat. It's not very good news, is it? But when you go to the fridge and you want to eat food, do you think about, is it going to make me fat, or do you just get great pleasure from eating food? And I would love everybody to really enjoy their food. So what makes us fat? How do we make sure that we don't get fat? Why do we store fat in our body, and what are the places that we store it? And there's a big argument, of course, that I'm in the kitchen right now, and there's lots of statements that everything to do with your body is 80% kitchen, 80% food, and only 20% exercise. So 80% of your results are produced in the kitchen, and 20% of results are produced by your exercise program. Well, here's something to consider, a question to ask. Why not have an exercise program that gives you 100% results, that you get everything you need from your exercise program, and your food gives you everything that you need, so pleasure and performance. A lot of people eat for pleasure but don't get the performance that they need, and a lot of people eat for performance and get no pleasure out of their food. Now, we all get to eat exactly the way we want to. I just am concerned want our kids not to have to go on a diet, not to be thinking can't have, mustn't have, shouldn't have, don't have about their food, not to be counting calories or fat grams or can I eat this, is it good or bad for me. I would love everybody, and I can't change what adults do, but I really love our kids to grow up diet free, healthy headspace about food, and loving all the food that they eat. So how do we make sure that that happens? Now, fat's an interesting thing. It's made from carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, but so is carbohydrate made from carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. It's different, just a different chemical bonding. So we get a bit caught up in it's really bad for you, but obviously if you don't have fat, you can die. You have to have fat in your body. You have to have fat to keep you warm. It helps most of your internal workings need some kind of fat to even the nerve endings work effectively. So you have to have it. You can't cut fat out of your diet. And I'm a very old lady who's been an exercise professional all of my life, and fat's come in and out of fashion. At one stage it was out of fashion, and now it's right in fashion. I've got my trusty bottle of olive oil right here. Somebody just said to me recently, Rowie, I don't know why I'm fat. I don't eat butter, I eat olive oil, or I put olive oil onto everything. Well, here's a really important thing to consider. Fat has 9 calories per gram. Carbohydrate and protein only have 4.5. So fat in itself is double the calories of other food. It's the chemical bondings that makes it, and it's a high energy food. It's important. We use fat to move around. It's our energy source when we're not exercising. So we need to have it. It's very high in calories, however, but I don't want to count calories. I don't want our kids to count calories. I don't want our kids to know that there's 9 grams of fat, 9 calories in a gram of fat, because all of that makes food really uninteresting. It makes it really clinical rather than exciting. I would love everybody to eat what you love, don't eat what you don't like, eat when you're hungry, stop eating when you're full. That's just my philosophy for food. And then of course eat stuff, or most of what you eat either grows under the ground, on a tree, is an animal that runs on the ground, and it hasn't been screwed with by humans. And most of our food that we eat now has so many chemicals and artificial stuff in it that we don't even know that it's food anymore. So what do we do if we want to have a lean body? So there's the fat that sits on your body, and there's two that are really important to consider. One is subcutaneous fat, which is the fat that sits between your skin and your muscle. Technically not dangerous. You might not like it, and it could be dangerous for your mental health. But it doesn't, no woman's ever died from a fat bum. Visceral fat, however, which is the fat that sits between your internal organs in this area, if you get too much fat in there, you get that big hard belly, and all your internal organs are getting squished. That, by just common sense, without being an endocrinologist or a medical professional, says that can't be good for you. So if you touch somebody's belly and it's really hard, but it's a really big one, it doesn't mean that there's no fat there because you can't squish it. It means that it's visceral fat and it's dangerous. So how do we get excess fat on our body? And of course, everything we eat can turn into fat. Fat is already fat. So the process of turning something that's almost 100% fat into fat in your fat cell is a really simple process for your body to do. And fat has 9 calories per gram. Carbohydrate and protein, complicated to turn into fat, but your body will do it if you have too much of it. And alcohol doesn't turn into fat, but when you have drunk alcohol, your body prefers to get rid of the toxin, prefers to burn up the alcohol first. So everything else that you eat can then end up in your fat cell. So do you want to have, we don't want to have visceral fat because that's dangerous. If you don't want to have subcutaneous fat, squidgy bits, lumpy bits, cellulite, whatever you want to call it. And just quickly on cellulite, it's not an anatomical term. The reason why women tend to have cellulite and men don't is the bands that hold our skin to our muscle, because if you didn't have those, they're like a fibrous band. If you didn't have those, your skin would just flop all over the place. Now in women, they're much closer together. So when you get excess fat, the fat kind of pops out between those fibrous bands and you get that thing that looks like orange peel. Now the beauty profession is called that cellulite, and it's $1 billion business on how to get rid of cellulite, but technically it's just fat. Now the beautiful thing is that this is not a complicated process and it doesn't need any big words. If you are really fit and if you are really strong, 3 things happen. If you're really fit, you have a fast metabolism because you can do things faster. So the faster you do things, the more calories you burn. So the food that you eat doesn't have a chance to end up in your fat cell. If you're really strong, you've got a fast base metabolic rate. If you've got muscle, and muscle is the engine of the body. So the bigger the engine, the more calories you burn. If you've got a 4-cylinder engine, 4 cylinders don't burn very much fuel. A V8 engine burns a lot of fuel. So the bigger your muscles, the bigger your engine, the more calories you burn, or the more calories you need just to survive. Which is why I find it really interesting. It seems that women have more challenge with excess body fat than men because men have more muscle. Now, men can grow more muscle too. They can actually go from a 6-cylinder to an 8-cylinder to a V12 if they want to, because they can put on muscle size. Women, we've just got to maintain what we've got. So if you want a body that burns fat, calories, food, lollies, chocolate really fast, you need a base metabolic rate that's high, so you've got to maintain your muscle. Then you want to be really fit so you can do everything faster, so you burn calories faster in the day. And then you want to have a respiratory quotient, RQ, which prefers to burn fat when you're resting. Which is why I always share, when I go exercising and I do multiple bursts of high intense activity throughout every single day and burn no fat at all. I don't ever want to burn fat when I'm exercising. I want to burn stored phosphates and carbohydrate, glycogen for my muscles, glucose for my brain, so that I'm working really hard. When you go at 100% effort, you get 100% result because your body burns up carbohydrate, which is great because it burns up the sugar that you put into your body. But it says, if you're going to keep doing this to me, Rowie, we better store the carbohydrate for your high intense activity. And then when you're resting, when you're not exercising at high intense activity, we then better burn, or we prefer to burn fat. So you burn fat at a higher percentage when you are really fit. So if you've got a fit person and an unfit person lying on the couch watching television, the unfit person will be burning calories much slower than the fit person, simply because a fit person has a faster metabolic rate, higher base metabolic rate if they've maintained their muscle. So to wrap all of that up, it's pretty simple. If you don't want squidgy bits on your body and you don't want dangerous visceral fat which will kill you, then you've just got to get fit and strong. But short bursts. There's no this long plod jogging, going for a walk 3 days a week at the gym for hours and hours. To get fit and get strong is a very simple process. To get strong, you've got to lift heavy, you've got to do it safely so you don't get injured, and you've got to do it very short so you don't get bored, but 10 seconds is very short. If you can lift something for more than 10 seconds, it's too light. What a simple process. And obviously you don't want to do silly exercises that hurt your muscle or hurt your joints and could hurt your muscles. So you do big exercises to get big results and get rid of the silly small exercises that waste your time. When you're really strong, then you can get really, really puffed. You can get really fit. You can go at 100% effort because you've got a body that can do it. So get strong, get fit, and then here's a really cool thing. Your food. Wouldn't it be nice to never diet, never have to count calories, never look at something and go, I can't have that because it's bad for me? Technically, and I bang on about this regularly, there's no bad food. All food will keep you alive, and if it keeps you alive, it can't possibly be labelled as bad. So you can say olive oil is much better for you than butter or processed oil. There's a lot of talk now about seed oils and processed oils. But if you're dying and you come across a bottle of processed oil and you eat that, you won't die. If you come across a packet of sugar and you eat that, you won't die. What's one of my favourite things? I love cake. If you come across a cake, which is supposedly high in fat and sugar, the beautiful thing about cake though, it's carbohydrate, protein and fat, so it's technically a complete food. And if you've got a body that can burn up everything that you eat, then you can be a cake eater too. Isn't that awesome? So rather than get focused on fat's bad, sugar's bad, can't have, mustn't have, don't have, shouldn't have, got to go on a diet, got to count calories, got to test my body fat percentage, got to have a body scan, how about this? Get really fit. So get puffed to get fit, lift heavy to get strong, do it safely so you don't get injured, do it short so you don't get bored, and make sure that your exercise program is getting you the results that you want. Because if it's not, then you need a different exercise program. And then food's really simple. Eat what you love, don't eat what you don't like, eat when you're hungry, stop eating when you're full, and when you've got a healthy endocrine system, that's exactly what will happen. You won't be able to overeat. I can come into my kitchen and have a fridge full of so-called bad foods, because I've always got lollies and chocolates and biscuits and cakes and always in my fridge and in my cupboard, but I can't overeat them because when I'm full, my body says enough, Rowie, stop, and I do. Isn't that a great way to live? No diets, no calorie counting. Just live your life to the max, eating everything that you love as a healthy, fit, strong human being who lives their life, are you ready? To the max. Super duper doo, how are you? Living my life to the max. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Woohoo!